All right, let's get right into it. For more than 75 years, that's a long time, one single family has had an iron grip on North Korea. They've created what is, without a doubt, the most isolated and mysterious country on the planet. In this explainer, we're going to unpack the incredible story of the Kim Dynasty, from a guerrilla fighter to a literal god king. You've probably seen these images, right? When Kim Jong Un died back in 2011, this was all over the news. Just waves of North Koreans in the streets, weeping, wailing, literally collapsing with what looks like uncontrollable grief. To an outsider, it's bizarre. But to them, they were mourning a god. And it really gets you thinking, doesn't it? It's the central mystery of North Korea. How much of this is real, and how much is, well, a performance you have to put on just to survive? So to really get a handle on the Kims, you've got to go back, way back. It all starts with how the country itself was born, out of this really intense period of foreign occupation that basically set the stage for, well, everything that followed. So rewind to 1905, Japan takes over Korea, and the rule is just brutal. Naturally, a resistance starts to bubble up. And in that mix is this young guerrilla fighter, Kim Il-sung. He gets a taste of fame after one big battle in 1937. Flash forward to the end of World War II. The Allies decide to split Korea right down the middle at the 38th parallel. The Soviets get the North, and they need a guy, their guy. And who do they pick? Stalin himself handpicks Kim. So boom, by 1948, it's official. Kim Il-sung is the leader of the brand new DPRK. And this is the key thing to understand right here. Kim Il-sung's entire legitimacy, his whole story, is built on this image of him as a freedom fighter, the nationalist hero who stood up to the Japanese. Now, how much of that is fact and how much is, let's say, enhanced, doesn't really matter. It became the origin story, the foundational myth for the entire country and for his family's rule. Okay, so he's got his hero story locked in. What's next? Well, Kim doesn't waste any time. He decides he's going to reunite Korea by invading the South. And this decision kicks off a war that is just unbelievably destructive. But it's also out of that destruction that he builds the ideas, the ideologies that let him take total control. I mean, it's hard to overstate how devastating the Korean War was for the North. Think about this. U.S. bombing flattened an estimated 80% of their buildings. It got to the point where an American general said they literally ran out of targets. There was nothing left to bomb. And if you ever wonder where that deep, deep-seated hatred for the United States comes from in North Korea, this is it. This experience is burned into their national identity. So after the war, in all that rubble, Kim Il-sung comes up with this core idea to rebuild the nation around. It's called Juche. And at its heart, it's pretty simple. Self-reliance. Radical self-reliance. The idea is that North Korea has to do everything on its own. Make its own stuff, grow its own food, and most importantly, seal itself off from any bad ideas from the outside world. It's a way of saying we are strong and independent, while the South, they're just puppets of America. Okay, so you've got this idea of self-reliance. But how do you enforce it? How do you make sure everyone stays in line? Well, that's where this thing called Songbun comes in, and it is wild. It's basically a secret caste system that sorts every single citizen into one of 3 classes based on how loyal their family history is. And your class, your Songbun, determines literally everything about your life. Your job, where you live, who you're allowed to marry. It's the ultimate tool for social control, baked right into the system from birth. And who's at the very top of this whole system? Kim himself, of course. He takes on the title Great Leader, and the cult of personality built around him just spirals into something else entirely. We're talking it was illegal to fold a newspaper if it creased his picture. Loyalty to North Korea meant loyalty to Kim. There was no difference. He wasn't just a president or a premier anymore. He was a god. So Kim Il-sung's power is absolute. He's a god king. Naturally, he starts grooming his son, Kim Jong Un, to take over. But here's the thing. The world outside North Korea is changing, big time, and Kim Jong-il is about to inherit a kingdom that's teetering on the edge of a cliff. Now, Kim Jong-il, he was a character. A bit of an enigma. He was completely obsessed with movies, especially Western ones, had this enormous legendary film collection. For years, he was this shadowy figure, the guy behind the curtain running propaganda, until suddenly he's presented to the people as the heir apparent, the dear leader. And his timing could not have been worse. Right as he's taking the reins, the Soviet Union just collapses. Proof. And all that economic aid that was propping North Korea up, gone, overnight. Add in some massive floods and the fact that the whole system was broken anyway, and the country spirals into one of the worst famines of the 20th century. They call it the Arduous March. The numbers are just staggering. Estimates go as high as 3.5 million people starved to death. So what does Kim Jong Il do in the face of this total catastrophe? He comes up with a new policy, Songbun, military first. The thinking was pretty straightforward. If the country is falling apart, the only thing that can hold it together and protect it is the army. So every scrap of food, every drop of fuel, every penny, it all goes to the military first. The army became the absolute center of everything. Backed into a corner, totally desperate for money and really for any kind of leverage on the world stage, Kim Jong-il's regime just goes all in on some truly wild stuff. This is what North Korea really earns its reputation as a rogue state. First up, kidnappings. And this story is just beyond bizarre. Remember Kim Jong-il, the movie buff? He literally sent his spies to abduct a famous South Korean film director and his star actress ex-wife and force them to make a communist version of Godzilla for him. No joke. But it gets much, much darker than that. The regime moved on to straight-up terrorism. In 1987, North Korean agents blew up a civilian airliner, Korean Air Flight 858, killing all 115 people on board. Why? They wanted to scare people away from attending the 1988 Olympics in Seoul. And then there were the assassinations, or at least attempts. In 1983, they tried to kill the South Korean president during a visit to Burma by bombing a memorial. The president survived by pure luck, but 21 other people, including some of his top cabinet members, didn't. It's just a pattern of unbelievable state-sponsored violence. So you put all that together, the kidnappings, the terrorism, the threats to turn Seoul into a sea of fire, and a clear strategy emerges. Their old way of doing things, their conventional power, was gone. So they pivoted. They turned to nuclear blackmail. The idea that they might just be crazy enough to use a nuke became their single most powerful weapon, their way of forcing the world to pay attention and give them what they wanted. Then, Kim Jong-il dies unexpectedly, and power transfers to the third generation, to his son, Kim Jong Un. And this is where the story gets really weird, because you have this young guy who went to school in the West, suddenly in charge, and his rule becomes this incredible paradox of modern style and absolutely medieval brutality. Seriously, nobody saw this coming. Kim Jong Un wasn't even supposed to be the heir. He'd spent years at a boarding school in Switzerland, of all places. His old classmates just remember him as this quiet kid who was obsessed with Michael Jordan and video games. And then, practically overnight, he's handed the keys to a nuclear kingdom. It's just surreal. And his rule really does have these two completely different faces. On one side, you have the absolute brutality. I mean, he had his own uncle executed to cement his power. He cracks down hard on any foreign influence like K-pop. But then on the other side, he's at a concert with performers dressed like Mickey Mouse. He becomes best friends with Dennis Rodman, of all people. He starts appearing in public with his wife, which was a huge break from tradition. And this isn't just him being weird. It's a strategy. The modern stuff sends a signal of change to the younger people, while the brutal purchases tell the old guard, don't even think about messing with me. When you look at the numbers like this, it really hits you. 46 years for the grandfather, 17 for the father, and Kim Jong-un is already well over a decade in. We're talking more than 75 years all told. It's the only country in the world that's a communist dynasty. The fact that they've held on this long is just staggering. So, what's the big takeaway here? How have they done it? Well, it boils down to this really unique and frankly terrifying formula. You take the godlike myth of the founder, Kim Il-sung. You mix in that incredibly rigid system of social control, the Songbun, and then you top it all off with nuclear weapons as your ultimate insurance policy. That's the secret sauce to the Kim dynasty's survival. And that brings us right up to today. 3 generations, 1 family. Kim Jong-un seems to have a firm grip on power, but his country is still one of the poorest and most isolated on Earth. So the question, the big, unanswerable question is, what happens next? What's the next chapter for the Hermit Kingdom?